Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito
and Crime. So, today we will be discussing the case of Mr. or Cucaracha, Stephen Port.
I've not heard of Stephen Port.
When I tell you the rest, you probably will. The Grindr killer.
Oh, I know. I know Stephen Port.
You know Stephen Port? Yeah, I figured.
Sí, un poquito.
Un poquito.
Sí.
It's a little bit kind of disgusting. So
Trigger warning?
Very much trigger warning. I tried to skip those kind of parts, but
Or just
kind of like smooth them out a little. I tried my best.
Or just not making seem as bad as they really are.
Yeah.
You're just not going into detail. Tampoco, ¿verdad?
Yeah, no details at all.
Oh, okay,
No, please, no. And if you do or can notice, my voice is a little bit off. I've been sick for a couple of days. We've been trying to put this off as much as we could, but we needed to record, so here we are. So if you would like to, please grab your cafecito and...
Let's get started.
Okay, so today's story brings us to the UK, which I've never had a story in the UK.
Oh, no, tú no, ¿verdad?
No, I'm not me. And so this is kind of exciting for me because the words there are kind of like so cool, you know?
And you're going worldwide.
I'm going, no, ya soy Mr. Worldwide right now. Soy Mr. Worldwide. Mrs. Worldwide. The story brings us to the UK. So we're going to go to a place called Barking. Like barking.
Like a dog is barking?
Yes, like a barking dog. East London. Oh, let me tell you the fun fact about barking. According to mylondonnews.com.
Okay.
Just 2 years ago, China launched its first direct rail freight service to London, and it stops at Barking. So why is this so extremely important? It's because that's probably where your Shein order is at. I'm just kidding. But no, basically it takes about 2 weeks to deliver items by rail, and it usually is clothing, bags, and household items, and it covers about 12,000 miles of rails.
I have never heard of Barking, so I guess it's not for them to pick that town out of every other place in the UK. Maybe it's very significant.
It is very significant because actually the railroad station comes into play into the actual story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of went with that one.
Okay, cool.
So also it's cheaper than the air. So that's why the merchandise that is coming from China is a little bit cheaper, and or by sea, and it only has one stop in London and 15 European cities, and one of them is Barking. They call it the New Silk Route.
Oh.
I know. It sounds fancy, huh?
Sounds like ropa's going there.
A lot of ropa.
Sí.
Yeah. In Barking on September the 13th of 2015, Jack Taylor, who worked as a forklift driver, had arranged to meet a man that he had been exchanging messages through Grindr. Mm-hmm. Grindr, which I thought it was grinder, like a grinder of cheese, but it's not. It's Grinder, but only with one R and no E. So for some reason, I was like, where is the E? Like I kept misspelling it. It's an online, mostly
it's
for dating site for gay people. Yeah. That is correct. Jack was very close to his sisters. He was the youngest of three. And just 2 days after reporting him missing is when they received the news that they had been dreading. They were told that he has been found dead and that he was found in a graveyard. So he was found on a graveyard wall, slumped over, and with him, next to him, there was a backpack. Mm-hmm. So in the backpack, they found drugs, including a small bottle of it's called the party drug, GHB, and also other drugs that were in the bag. The actual body was found at a church, or at the outside graveyard of a church called St. Margaret's of Antinoch Church, which it took me forever I had to listen to that a few times. And it was very interesting because he was propped up against a wall
of the church,
of the church on the bottom, but it was in the graveyard side. So he was in a graveyard and he was propped up there was a blue sheet under him.
Como una tarpa.
Yeah. But it was more like como una sábana, una sobrecama sábana thing that was under him.
Una colcha.
Sí. So the family was told that he had died of an overdose and that he was sitting there, like I said, again, with all of this backpack and stuff.
Según ahí es donde lo encontraron, that's where he was doing drugs and that's where he OD'd?
Apparently, that's what they were saying.
Initially,
yeah. Okay. So the family was like, there's no way. There's no way that Jack was doing drugs. First of all, he was very anti-drug. He was not going to be doing something like that. And besides the fact that they were like, he would not be at a graveyard by himself. There's no way.
Like he just wouldn't do that.
He just wouldn't do that. So after insisting to the police is looking for more information. And they found some images from a CCTV footage in the area showing Jack. He had he was meeting a man at the Barking train station, and which the family had never seen this man and they didn't know who he was. The police identified the man after a few days, and his name was Stephen Port. He was a 40-year-old chef from the area. Okay. So now we're going to go into who is Stephen Port. Mm-hmm. So Stephen Port was born on February 22nd of 1975. And he was born, this is really cool because it's called South End on Sea.
Come again?
South End on Sea. Así se llama.
El lugar.
South End on Sea, London.
Like end?
N-E-N-D, like end.
And then on. And then sea, like
the water. Sí, el mar.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. His family left South End.
And we're all making it like motions, like el mar.
And we're so crazy. But anyway, so his family had left South End at the age of 1. He was at the age of 1. His parents moved to here we go. Dagenham in Essex. Sorry about that. As you know, I am a bilingual, but not in English London, apparently. He came from an average working class family. They were just normal. Like there was nothing different from him and his other siblings.
Any other family at the time.
No. He was very quiet. He was awkward. He would stay to himself a lot, and he liked to be alone. It was said that he was so quiet that the people in school at one point thought that he was deaf because
he was mute. No hablaba.
He was mute. No hablaba. No, like he wouldn't talk to anybody. And so they were like, oh, he's probably just can't hear, you know, apparently. But he was not deaf.
No, he was just very selective
of who he was talking to.
Oh, he was just shy, right?
Yeah, just shy.
Okay.
So after graduating school, he started to attend an art college, but they didn't have enough money for him to go to the art college, so he had to drop out because they couldn't afford it.
Right.
After this, he went to go train to become a chef, which is kind of in the same realm because, you know, you're a chef, you're making art, but with food. I don't know. But apparently to him, it wasn't the same. He wanted to be an art major. So he was kind of holding a little bit of a grudge, because he wanted to continue art school.
But que de todos modos no te cuesta, I mean, todavía te va a costar go to college to be a chef.
I don't know how that works over there in London or in England. I have no idea. Or in East End.
Or in the UK.
Or in the UK, yes. So at the age of 30, so ya vamos a pasar hasta he's 30, and he moves out. And when he moves out to a new flat, which a flat is an apartment, in Barking, East London, he meets one of his neighbors. His name is Ryan Edward. So we will hear a lot about Ryan because Ryan was the closest person that actually would talk to him, that he actually had interaction with Stephen. He says that he was his friend, but I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
So he said that when he moved in 2005, he moved into the flats in that area, and he said that Edward himself was a young gay man, so he didn't really know many young gay men. Mm-hmm. So him, apparently they had something in common. So they started talking. So they weren't like besties, but they were neighbors. So they saw each other, whatever. So he said
they lived in the same
flat complex.
Okay, they weren't roommates or anything.
No, they were not roommates. No, they were neighbors. Mm-hmm. So he said they became quickly acquainted because, you know, I mean, there was not a lot of gay people around there. So he was like, maybe, you know. So he remembers Stephen as a tall, really slim man. Like if you would see him, he kind of reminds you of like Slender Man. Like really, no, straight up, like bien delgadito.
Wait, well, how tall was he? Like 6'5" or some shit?
I don't know. You know what? I didn't even look that up. I don't know how tall he was, but he was really tall.
Oh, I want to look
Pero
it up.
bien delgaditito. Like he was so tall, and he says it. He's like, he was so tall that he would walk with like como un
palo.
Sí, porque como que estaba tan alto que como que caminaba.
With a hunch.
Yeah, con un hunch. So he was a little sluncho, and he was very pale. Dude, pale. Blanco. Yeah. So then he said he really, once again, didn't talk to many people, and he was very, very reserved. Things started to get kind of weird with Stephen. One time, Ryan taking some things out of his apartment, and he found that he had a little truck como una little fire truck. Y le dice a su amigo that was helping him take out the stuff.
Fuck.
Yeah, I told you. He does look like Slenderman, huh?
Yeah, he looks familiar. Oh, he was 5'11".
Well, no, but I'll explain to you why.
Oh, right.
Well, I mean, because compared to, I guess, everybody else.
That's your husband's height.
Yeah, well, my husband looks like Slenderman. I don't know.
No, he does not.
I don't know.
At all.
I don't know, but that's what they
Not
said.
even when he was growing up.
So then...
Oh, no, I am so sorry. He was 6'3".
Yeah, so he was taller.
He was tall.
He was taller than my husband.
Yeah, no, 6'3" is tall.
Yeah, I'm 5'10", so he's like... 5'9", whatever, and he's like 6 feet. So yeah, he's pretty tall.
Yeah, so he was 6'3".
Like I was saying before, he had a little toy truck, como una camionetita, y he was throwing everything away from his home, como basura, things he didn't want.
He was spring cleaning.
And he tells his friend, hey, I think this would be something. El neighbor.
¿Cómo se llama?
Hey, maybe I should give this to, Steven. Y le dice el friend, why would you want to give that to a grown man? Like that, a grown man would not want a toy truck. Pues llega el day del party, everybody's over at the party, having drinks at his apartment de Ryan. Le da la camioneta, la little toy, and
a Steven,
and Steven sits down in the middle of the party a jugar con la truck. Como si fuera un niño, se acostó en el piso.
Do you think it's because he never had that kind of stuff growing up?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, all of the research that I read was the fact that they think that he was a little bit mentally behind.
Okay.
So they thought that...
Like a learning disability?
Yes, he did. Yeah. So he was just playing like no one else. He says, I remember looking at him, he's spaced out, like no one else was around him. Y él está sentado jugando, enjoying himself con la little fire truck. And the guy's like, and he dice que voltea que le dice al friend, look, I told you he was going to enjoy that. Because I think that Ryan kind of understood him.
Okay. De por sí, I mean, I guess that makes sense if he was just quiet and reserved cuando he was growing up and stuff, porque,
So, yeah, you're right. So as he said, he didn't really leave his house as well. So he was, on top of that, he was even more pale because he wouldn't leave his house. So it was hard for him to make a relationship or any friends. Y de por sí
in the UK está bien pinche cloudy all the time.
Yeah, so... So it was especially hard for him to go out and like put himself out there.
Mingle.
So he wouldn't go
networking.
Yeah, he wouldn't go out to clubs. He wouldn't meet any men. So all of the dating or any meeting men he would do was on dating sites, which is nothing bad about that. I think that's awesome, because if you could, but the thing is, he wouldn't just actually like try to meet these people normally. No, he would catfish them. So he would put older pictures of him when he was younger and he had hair. And then he would actually tell them that he would put...
Because he was still, at this point, ¿cuántos años tenía?
Como 30, 31.
Okay.
Por ahí. Yeah, so he was still in older 30s almost,
So he still was like the mid-early 2000s, right?
Yes, 2005-ish, por ahí. Mm-hmm. And so then he would put, like I said, older pictures. Online he could be anybody he wanted.
Anybody can be anybody that they want online.
So he would put himself as he was in the Navy. He would put himself as a military man. He also said that he was a teacher of special needs kids.
What? I mean, it's one thing to lie about the way that you look, but if you're training to be a chef, why don't you just fucking put that you're trying to be a fucking chef,
We know that doesn't happen. We've seen catfish. Not only that, but a lot of the...
that show's still on. It has like 20 seasons. I was watching it not that long ago.
I was watching it too not that long ago. And it's so weird. So crazy. It's so crazy.
And I know a lot of people online are like, how do people still fall for their stuff?
You still do.
But there's people that they're like, it's just some people just don't want to like accept the truth and they see what they want to see,
Exactly. So what he would do, he would also tell them that he went to Oxford and that he graduated from there.
That's like a really...
kind of like a Harvard and...
Like a high-end
university. And he had more than one, apparently, degrees according to his profiles. And more than one profile as well.
Huh.
So he was meeting guys.
He was doing multiple catfishes?
Multiple. Not only that, but he was meeting them fairly quickly. And he would automatically think that they were dating.
Just because they met up once or whatever. And they're like,
he would be like, this is my boyfriend.
Mi novio?
Yeah, this is my boyfriend. And so then he would tell Edward or Ryan, he would be like, hey, this is my boyfriend. You want to come over? We're going to have coffee or whatever. And they had just met.
He literally went there to meet up just one time.
Yeah, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Hey, do you want to come over?
Boyfriend and boyfriend.
Boyfriend and boyfriend, excuse me. Hey, you want to come over? And they had just met that day.
Imagine those people or those men that would come over and they'd be like, bro, what?
I don't know, but I just don't understand what was killing me when I was reading this was the fact that they would meet up with him and they were expecting to see like a younger guy.
A younger version of him.
Edward. Yeah. So,
or Stephen.
Stephen, not Edward. Yeah. So then they were he was talking to practically young men. Like he's in his 35 years old, let's say early 30s. And he was talking to 18, 19, 21 year olds, so he was talking to really young guys. And because
young adults.
So it seemed like he kind of did that to have a matter of control over them because of the fact that the way that he would treat some of the guys that he would talk to. So because he would say that they're their boyfriends, y los traía over all the time, a lot of the guys would actually start making friends with Edward or whoever was around.
Wait, who's Edward again?
Ryan, excuse me. Let me clarify because I think his name is Edward Ryan. Like, I think his last name is Ryan.
Okay, because I know you said Edward. I was like, wait, who's Edward?
Yeah, so his name was Edward Ryan, but...
He would go by Ryan.
He would go by... No, Edward.
Oh.
What?
And so you said his name was Ryan, so I'm like...
What the hell am I talking about? Okay, start again. His neighbor's name, and I clarify, is not Ryan, it's Edward.
Okay, so where did the Ryan come from?
That's his last name.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the same person, but...
Edward Ryan. It just sounds like Ryan could be a first name, and then Edward is the first name, and maybe it could be a first name and a middle name. And...
Wow. Yeah. Anywho, so he, like I said, he would be with really young guys. So Edward also remembers that he would bring these guys, to, like I said, to the parties and all of these things. And he was really into sex parties. So apparently, like, he would go to these parties and there was just a whole bunch of, like, sex going on and a lot of drugs. And so then he was like really into that. Like it was kind of scary. According to Edward, he said that he also one day went over to his house and that he had drugs like all over his table, like in like kind of like a dish. And he had all the drugs inside the dish.
Let's take a quick break. Persons of Interest is back and it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! Taser! He's gonna shoot!
Oi! Shot fired! Shots fired!
Stay out! You got a gun on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Like a punch?
Yeah, like a punch dish.
Bowl?
Adentro y los tenía con drugs. Y tenía todas las pastillas, all of that. And then he had like powder, like...
What the hell?
Cocaine, obviously. And he had all these things just sitting there. And he's like, when I walked through that, I was like on the coffee table, like just sitting out there.
Nada, like you're offering pinche café con galletas Marías or some shit?
Yeah, no había galletas Marías. Había pinche GHB. And he's like, bye, I'm not doing this.
Oh, he was not into it.
He was not into it. He's like, he said that was one of the last times.
And then there would just be younger men there doing drugs and all
sex
that
parties
stuff.
And stuff like that.
In his apartment?
No. He would go to the sex parties.
Okay, but the drugs were at his apartment.
Okay. Yeah. So this brings us to June the 15th of 2014. Okay. So this is going to put us back a little. Mm-hmm. And
that's 9 years ago.
Yes. It just happened. Not too long ago.
But it's crazy to think that 2014 is 9 years ago. Yeah. Not 5.
No.
9.
Almost a decade. Yeah. So in 2014, Anthony Walgate, a 23-year-old fashion student who occasionally worked as an escort, got a message from a man that was requesting his services. He was offering 800 pounds for his services, and he said, okay, he accepted. They were to meet at the Barking train station again, and after that, they were going to go to the client's flat, to his apartment. The next morning...
Which was Stevens,
yeah. So the next morning, Steven calls the police, and there's actual recording of him calling the police. And he was telling them, there's a young man outside of my door. He has collapsed, and he looks like he's either had a seizure or he's drunk.
Oh.
Okay. So then They were like, where? So he tells them, outside my house at the door.
Les dice la dirección.
Les dice la dirección, something about Cookie Street or something like that. So before 8 a.m., the police arrived and they pronounced that Anthony was once dead. Deceased, that he was deceased. At 8 a.m., the police arrived and they pronounced Anthony as being dead. Upon investigating the body, there was a bag that was sitting next to Anthony. And when they looked inside the bag, there was drugs inside of it that were also GHB. Mm-hmm. While Stephen was being questioned, he told the police that he had found him on his way home from work. So he was on his way home from work. So the police didn't really, he was like, oh, okay. They didn't really care apparently. So they were like, okay, cool. You were on your way home from work.
Y lo encontraste and then you called us. So you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. You're a great citizen. That's basically what they said. So then he said that he just believed he was just sitting outside there. When he got close, he saw that he wasn't breathing.
Y luego después le habló él a la policía.
And so, but he had no idea who the young man was that was outside. He had no idea. Anthony's mom, Sarah, wanted to have some more information about what happened to her son and said, hey, was he shot? Like, what happened to him? And they said, no, there was no marks on him. Everything was...
He OD'd. They pretty much told her.
Basically is what they told her. He OD'd and there was no stabbing. There was nothing that could say that
somebody else did it or something.
He just overdosed, basically is what the police told him. Told her. And immediately she knew. She was like, there's something wrong. There's no way my son would be doing drugs like that. Once again, she knew her son and she's like, nope, there's no way. So the police questioned Anthony's friends and they told him that he was arranged to meet up with the man the next day or the day that he was found dead. And they quickly realized that the person who was going to meet him was the person who called 999, which is 911 here, or 911. So on June the 26th, he was arrested. So Stephen was arrested for what happened to Anthony. But the reason that he was arrested was because they found that he had, I guess, tempered or moved the body around. So they called it, they call it like something about justice because he moved the body. So like tempering, ¿cómo se dice?
Tempering with
like evidence or something. So he moved the body outside because when they asked him, they took his laptop and they took his DNA. And when they asked him, he said, well, it's because we worked together.
Okay. Why didn't you say that from the fucking beginning?
And we'd taken some drugs the day before, and then he fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, I left him because I went to work. But when I came back, he was dead. And he says that he panicked and he didn't know what to do. So he moved the body outside and set him outside and called the police and said, hey, there's a guy sitting outside. So already that was kind of like...
You already lied once.
You already lied, dude. And so like I said, they did arrest him that day. So on June the 26th of 2014, they charged him with perverting the course of justice, and they gave him an ankle monitor, and they told him that he was going to be having trial on March 2015. So he needed to be back for trial, but
he was like under
house arrest or whatever.
Arrest,
so they released him right after that. They released him out on bail.
Yeah.
So they didn't search his laptop. They didn't search his phone.
Even though they took it?
Yeah. They didn't check anything.
But they didn't go through it?
Mm-mm. They just took it just to take it, and then they gave it back to him, basically.
And if they would have searched?
Yeah. They didn't question anything else about him. They didn't question him what was going on. Why did you meet him? They just believed his story.
The second time.
Yeah. So, but supposedly they were putting their foot down, and they gave him an ankle monitor, right? So they just believed that he just didn't have anything to do, and the person that was... That he was saying...
Anthony really did just...
Die of an overdose.
Yeah.
He didn't lose any time, girl. He went right on it. Because just 2 months after being released, he started messaging men again on Grindr, right?
And that's where he found Anthony, on Grindr?
Mm-hmm. No, Anthony was found on...
Through escort site.
The escort site, yeah. So he began messaging back and forth with a 22-year-old male named Gabriel Kovori from Slovakia. He had just moved to London because he was pursuing his career in arts as well. And he actually, not too long after he met him, they moved in together.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he lived with Stephen for a little bit. So actually, he met him, and then like not too long on the 23rd of August, they started living together. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have anywhere to go. It was kind of like an arranged
He was
thing.
new in the city.
Yeah. But,
and he probably just thought, honestly, that he could use Steven until he could, encontrar donde...
You know what? I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Estaba solito,
and
no tenía nadie.
He was young too?
He was young. He was 22.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 22. Yeah. So then his neighbor, once again, we go back to him. He remembers that he met Gabriel and was like, oh, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And he brought him over for coffee. Steven, because era su boyfriend, pues.
Y Edward era su amigo.
Era su amigo.
Yeah.
Ajá.
So he was like, let me introduce you to my friend.
To my
one friend?
Boyfriend.
No, bro. He was telling the
boyfriend.
boyfriend.
To the only one friend that he had.
Yeah.
And so then le dice, come over, let's have a cup of coffee or whatever. So Port se va al baño. He goes to the restroom. He's in the restroom. Y cuando está en el baño, Gabriel empieza a contar al neighbor, Edward, hey, I'm not happy. Steven is really possessive. He's not being nice to me. He lo golpeaba. It was just like a bad situation.
Yeah.
And so then the neighbor says, well, and then he said he was scared of him. And he's like, I'm scared of him. That he wanted him to know that he wasn't the person that he thought he was.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Y así no lo conocía Edward. Edward lo conocía just being quiet.
And
he was into drugs and shit and sex parties. But other than that, he was just...
So then he just said that he remembered Gabriel as being different from all the other men that he had brought with him because he was really bright. Like he knew a lot about art and he was like really full of life and he saw him as being someone, in life. And so he said that he kind of did make an impression on him. So when he was, when he had been leaving or whatever, he asked him for his info. So they were
to
kind of like,
touch.
Yeah, to keep in touch.
Yeah.
Mind you.
Que no supiera Steven?
Que no supiera Steven ni nada because, he was... No, I think Steven did know about it, but it was kind of more like, hey, well, let me follow you on Instagram or whatever. And they were just social media friends. But he didn't... Acquaintances. After that, he said that he started messaging Gabriel and Gabriel stopped answering him. So he thought it was kind of weird.
Right.
So he asked Steven, hey, do you know why Gabriel's not communicating with me? Le preguntó a Steven. And Steven was like, no, I don't know what happened to him. He's not answering me either. I have no idea.
He lives with you.
Exactly. And then he came back and tells them, oh, he disappeared. He's gone. And so he's like, okay, is he okay? And no answer. Next thing you know, a little bit sometime after, Steven messages him again and tells him that Gabriel had left him for an army guy. And that when he left, he was actually, Steven was concerned about him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because he didn't know much about Gabriel, saying that he had some sad news about Gabriel. And he said, well, what happened? And he said, well, he's gone. He left with that army guy and he contracted a very rare illness and he died.
How do you know this, sir?
Apparently, he knew. He said he picked up everything, packed up his bags, left them for an army guy, and then he picked up, a disease.
Y se murió.
Y se murió. That's all he knew.
Y es lo que le dijo a Edward.
A Edward, yeah. On August the 28th, just 5 days after Gabriel had moved in with Steven, he was found dead.
5 days?
Mm-hmm.
That's not even a week.
Yeah.
And where was he found dead? Oh,
he was found dead by a lady that was walking her dog. Guess where? At the graveyard. At the graveyard.
Like at the beginning of the episode, graveyard.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep. So then there was, once again, extreme amount of drugs in his system, and he was actually ruled, again, death by an overdose. Oh. So while he was still out, once again, Steven was out on bail still, right? Mm-hmm. So he contacts another person on this online dating app. This one, I think it was Grindr or another one. And it was a 21-year-old chef. On the 18th of September, he agreed to meet Daniel Whitworth. 2 days later, Daniel was found dead.
What?
Yes.
2 days later.
2 days later. Like, he's meeting these guys and then sees them and then, like, I don't know, like, immediately kills them. Like,
it's like fucking Medusa or some shit.
For real. So Gabriel and Daniel were actually both found at the same spot. Exact same spot.
And police don't think that this is fucking suspicious?
Nada. In the same spot, and guess what? By the same lady.
In the same way.
Not only that.
With the backpack?
With the backpack, with drugs in it. Yeah. Not only that, but she was walking her dog and she said that when she saw the second body, all she was thinking was she saw a young boy. And when she got closer, she was like, please, God, not another one.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Pobre señora.
Yeah. Like she's
literally
like,
just fucking minding her business, walking her dog.
a little Frenchie, I'm guessing. I don't know. I can imagine her. I don't know why I think she had a Frenchie. Like one of those little bitty dogs.
Yeah.
Y se le miró eso.
The poor dog too.
On the 20th of September is when they did notify Daniel's family finally that they had that. They found Daniel and they asked how did he die? And he said he took his own life. So the family is like, what? So apparently they were thinking that he took his own life. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he had left a note.
Stop.
Yes. He left a note. And once again, they're saying he overdosed himself. And he wrote this note.
Before he OD'd, though.
Obviously, is what they were saying. So then they thought that it was getting kind of like,
No.
I don't know about this. So he's like, his stepmom was really devastated. Like she was like, this cannot be. She's the one that was giving the interviews. And she said, I just could not believe it because I'm going to read you the letter of what he said. Okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
So according to this is Daniel that wrote this.
His suicide note.
Suicide note. Yeah. I am sorry to everyone, mainly to my family, but I cannot go any longer. I took the life of my friend Gabriel Klein. We were just having some fun at a mate's place and it got carried away. And I gave him another shot of G. I didn't notice while we were having sex, but he had stopped breathing. I tried everything to get him to breathe again, but it was too late. It was an accident. But I blame myself. But what happened, I didn't tell my family. I went out. So he had not told his family that he went out, apparently.
Yeah.
I know I will go to prison if I go to the police, and I can't do that to my family. And at least this way, I will be with my friend Gabriel again. I hope you will all forgive me. By the way, please do not blame the guy that I was with last night. We only had sex, and then I left. He knows nothing about what I have done. I've taken sleeping pills so I can die and it will kill me is what I deserve. Feeling dizzy now as I took it 10 minutes ago. So I hope you understand my writing. I dropped my phone somewhere here. It should be in the grass somewhere. Sorry to everyone. Love, Daniel P. Withward.
If that is not the most obvious letter.
Obvious.
Wait, but did the police?
No, they did not.
Buy this letter?
They bought it.
Stop.
Yep, they bought it. So let's talk a little bit about the letter. The family is like, this is not Daniel. First of all, he never says, this is for my mom, so-and-so. This is for my dad, so-and-so. Second of all, the name that he calls Gabriel, that's not his name.
Yeah.
He's calling Gabriel Klein, and Gabriel's last name was Koveri. It's Kovari. And he was from Slovakia. So had nothing to do with Klein.
I was about to say, is that the name that she said earlier? Because I don't recall.
No, he said that to himself. Then he says, I'm feeling dizzy now.
I know. And do not blame the man I was with last night.
Do not blame the man.
We only had sex.
Yep.
But he did not kill me and write this letter.
Yes. And
so
he did not write this
don't
for
be
me.
sus.
Do not be sus. So his family's like, that's not him. You know, please.
No, wait, pero pues la policía bought it.
They bought it. Yeah.
Una bola de babosos tamentos.
Honestly, that is probably the worst case of police work that I've ever seen in any case, straight up. Like, I've seen a lot of bad police work, but this right here, and
it's just lazy.
No, not only that, but I attribute it to a lot to because of them being gay. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
It was because of the fact that there were, he's gay, so he's overdosed. That's what they do.
Yeah, and he was having sex with
men, and
they
OD'd.
OD'd.
I mean, and that is not fair because once again, they're still people.
Yeah.
And they still need their lives to be,
it mattered.
Yeah, we all matter. And so then, no additional investigation was done. So a friend of Gabriel's, because now at this point, Gabriel's friends are like, hey, he has nobody here. He's in London. He doesn't have any family.
He just moved here.
So Gabriel's friend was like, you know what? I'm going to go to it's called a human rights campaigner. His name is Peter Tatchell. And he's like
say his last name again?
Peter Tatchell.
Tatch.
It's TATCHELL. Chell.
I just like how it sounds.
Oh, okay. And he's one of the leaders of the LGBTQ plus community. And he's like, about the rights and stuff like that. So he said, hey, you know what? You need to probably call. They actually have their own news. It's called the Pink News, which is the cutest thing ever. And he said, can you please contact them and contact the police and tell them that you want further investigation?
Tell them what happened. And the story.
And they both went over there. The Pink News and also the other friends and everybody went over there to the police and said, hey, we want you to further investigate it. And they told them, we know there's nothing else going on. Drop it, basically. After this, they did put Port in jail because he went, remember, he had that court date to go back. So he was sentenced for 8 months for the whole thing that he had done with the corpse. Yeah. And he was put in March the 23rd of 2015. For those 8 months, he only served 2. And then he was out again on June the 4th. He was back at it again. 2 months later. Ryan actually did text Edward, did text Stephen and was like, hey, why did you go to prison? What happened? And he's like, and when I read this, I literally gave me chills in the back of my head. My little pelitos se me pararon because I was like, really, why the fuck would he say this? But le dijo, I was in prison because it was 90 seconds of a mistake that I made, and it caused me a lifetime of problems, and it caused me to go to prison. 90-second mistake. So you're calling somebody's life a 90-second mistake?
And it cost you your whole life, bitch. You only went to prison for 2 months, not your whole life, as of right now.
He also asked why was he doing that, and why would he do all these things, and he just kept texting him like creepy stuff. So he's like I just stayed away. Yeah. Now we're gonna go back to the 14th of the beginning of the story. Which is September, when they found, remember, Jack Taylor. We spoke about him, and we mentioned that Jack's sisters were like, no, there's no way that he would be alone at the park. Remember that we talked about how he doesn't hang around cemeteries. And I believe that, because if you were to hear that they found me at the cemetery and I had gone there willingly, do you think I would have done that by myself? No. You'd probably be like, no, my sister does not. We go together. But not by herself. No, she's not going to do that shit, because I would be like, no, that's not like her. Yeah. And so then they were having like they were like, we're gonna try, we're really, they were not having it. The sisters were like, no, we're gonna fucking get this fucking solved because something is not right. So after that, they were like, go back to the police, and they tell them, you need to go back and look at the cameras. So as I mentioned before, they did put out the CCTV footage, and they saw that, and they actually started asking the public for help and to see.
They were doing their fucking jobs for once, apparently.
No, the sisters did.
Yeah, no, but now they started asking.
Yeah, they were the ones doing it because the police did not. Okay, I'm sorry, the police did not. Yeah, I'm sorry. And so then when they did, they noticed that the man that Jack was once again Stephen. So the thing is, where the cameras of the CCTV footage is at, it looks like, yes, the person walked with him, but then they go out of the camera. But if you according to what I read, if you widen the camera, you could see on the other side that he walked with him towards the cemetery.
They were both going in the same direction.
They were going the same direction.
And maybe they try to make it seem like, they both walked one direction, but you couldn't see where they went after, right?
Exactly.
Like, according to them, they could have gone separate directions, but like you just said, if you widen the camera, it looks like they both walked in the direction of the cemetery.
Yeah. So at this time, now they're putting the pieces together. Yeah. And on October the 15th of 2015 is when they finally picked his ass up. They said, you're going to jail. And because of the fact that now we have proof that you were walking with Jack. By this time, they're like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and check on his computer. And check his computer and check his cell phone.
Now they know, okay, he also found according to them, he moved the body, the Anthony. Yeah. And he went to prison for that already. Yeah. So they already know him because of that.
But now, and they had his DNA. So by this time they took his DNA, and now they have his DNA, they have his computer and his phone. So now they're going to go through it. Yeah. When they should have done that
earlier.
But maybe you know what? I just work here. I don't know anything. So they started going through it, and what they found was not anything better. They found videos of him having sex with unconscious men, and Googling searches of a boy drug rape drugs,
Jeffrey Dahmer much?
Yeah, kind of that kind of shit. Not only that, but he admitted to actually meeting up with Daniel at a sex party, but he said he did not kill any of the men. But at this point, it was too obvious. So they're all just
connected to you?
Yeah. On October the 18th, which is a few days after, he was arrested now officially for the death and murders of the 4 young men. After investigating, they found that he was drugging the young men and then, I'm sorry to say, but raping them and violating them sexually with GHB, Viagra, popper pills. I don't know
what that is.
I don't either, but that's what they call it.
Viagra?
No, Viagra is one, and then another one is popper, I guess a drug.
Oh,
like poppers?
Weird.
I don't know.
I'm thinking jalapeno poppers.
Me too, but I don't
think
I'm a fat ass, so I don't know. And then crystal meth. After all of this happened and the news hit, guess what? They had a few more men come forward saying that they were also drugged and raped by Port at his flat.
It says effects of poppers. Poppers are drugs that dilate your blood vessels to allow more blood to reach the heart.
So it's like I guess it's a drug that they use like kind of like an ecstasy.
It makes you feel like aroused or euphoric.
Yeah.
Kind of like a rush of blood. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and then crystal meth as well. He was using all of these drugs. And they also, like I said before, they did find a few more men that came forward saying that they had also been abused by Steven. And he was also drugging them and also raping them.
But they just managed to get away? Or
they managed to get away, or
he let
maybe
them go.
At this point he wasn't
killing. Oh, yeah, they hadn't escalated to killing just yet.
And so on July July 2016, he was charged with the rape of 8 more men.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Not only that, but it was in between the time of 2011 to literally the month that he was put into jail. Like this was like he did not stop. It was one after another one for years. Yeah. And he was
And then I'm sure también, like como we were saying a little bit earlier, que they probably didn't want to come forward because they are gay men y no les iban a creer.
No les hacen caso.
Yeah.
No les iban a hacer caso. And that is so sad and heartbreaking to me because that has really...
men can get raped too. I mean, you know?
That has really set with me since I read about this guy because he's the most disgusting
when you said the Grindr killer, I was thinking of somebody else. So it wasn't this case.
No. So this guy, he was just the worst of the worst, honestly. Yeah, he was pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
And not only that, but his trial began and he had a total of 29 separate charges.
Damn.
And of rape, sexual assault, administering substance without intent, with intent, and murder for the gentlemen that were killed. On October the 5th, 2016 is when his trial began. He pled not guilty.
Based on what?
Based on
not guilty.
He didn't do it. And that meant that obviously the family had to see his fucking face, which is the worst thing ever. And he was 41 at the time and he was bald, bitch. Like he looks so disgusting. And I was looking at the pictures of him and I'm like, these poor guys thought that they were walking into this totally different man. Like if you go online, you can see you can see the difference. And I just
website. I mean, profile on the dating apps.
They actually, once everything came to light, they had found DNA on Gabriel Kovari's sunglasses of his, and they also found a DNA on Daniel Woodward's clothes. So they were able to connect. Yeah, they were able to connect him to those, and they actually had a handwriting expert confirmed that the suicide note was not left by Daniel. Sorry. It was not his handwriting. Edward did testify against Port, which he should. And he said that he, at one point...
I pulled up the pictures of the 4 victims. They looked like...
babies.
Literal baby faces.
Baby faces. Todos. Like they're all so little. And I guess that's what he was targeting. He was targeting guys, vulnerable guys,
especially ones that are a little bit younger, just came out, maybe, you know, like no saben ni qué.
Yeah, it's true. And so his neighbor says that he had to walk towards the exit of the actual way and he had to walk past him because they had him sitting like behind a glass like wall or like, something like a glass thing. Y que when he was walking out, he actually grinned at him.
Ew.
And it was like a crooked grin.
Imagine like thinking, bro, I guess Edward considered him, I guess, like a friend, right? You could say.
I guess. I don't know.
And then, like, he was just doing all this shit in his fucking apartment, which you were in.
Yeah.
And you met some of the guys.
Yeah. So and he said that when he like smiled at him, he was like, I couldn't take it. I had to walk away. It was like the most disgusting thing because he said it was like a grin of like a little kid. Like he was like, I'm in trouble, like
Ew.
that kind of grin. On the 23rd of November of 2016, he was found guilty of 22 charges against him, 11 men that were sexually abused by him, additional besides the 4 murders. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, 4 additional rapes and 10 administering substance with intent. So he was sentenced to life in prison. Since his arrest and him going to prison, they've reopened at least 58 more cases.
58?
58.
Wow.
Because they believe that he
had something to do with
them. Yes.
Wow.
They actually also opened a full-on investigation on the police because
how they let this go.
Not only that, but I think
the lack of
police work. And I think that they were investigating at least 8 to 10 members of the police about like how they were just pushing it under the rug, and they believed it was because of the fact that they were gay.
I believe it.
Yep. So that is the story of the Grindr killer.
That's crazy.
Stephen Port. Yes, ma'am.
Kukurach.
No, he's worse. And so then the one of the videos that I watched, they have a lot of videos on him. Even one of the YouTubers, Eleanor. Mm-hmm. Eleanor from what is her?
She's from the UK.
It's from the UK, but what is her channel? Eleanor. Yeah. So she was talking about it, and there's so many out there. But one of them, one of the moms, I think it was Daniel's mom or Jack's mom. I'm not remember which one. And she was all like, he's so ugly. He was like, he's so ugly. I don't understand why, looking at him, he would even like have anybody even turn him. He had to go through like the chats so that people wouldn't see him because nobody was ever going to want to be with him. I know it's not funny. I just feel like
if you're laughing at him, then that is funny.
I mean, I don't know. This was a crazy one. That's why it took me a while to finish because this one really got to me. And I think it was because of the lack of humanity, like the lack of them caring for or not caring,
just because they're gay.
Just like, because they're
what's
gay.
it to you?
Yeah. So I can't believe this.
Does it make you less of a police officer to investigate their murders because they're gay?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's your job.
That's literally your job.
That's what you...
I mean, what else is it? Entonces, ¿para qué está la policía?
¿Para qué? I don't understand, but thank you so much for listening to us today. This will be the first... What number are we on? 50, season 2, episode...
53?
53. So we're on season 2, episode 53. No, it's 54.
5. I don't know.
But we're in the 50s.
Early 50s.
Thank you so much for listening and everybody's support. Let us know what you think about the episode. You can follow us on Instagram at
Cafecito and Crime Pod, or you can send us an email to
cafecitoandcrimepod@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for everybody that has been supporting us. And we hope that you have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye.